heart of the enchanting Lake District, a place of sublime beauty and inspiration, lies the remarkable story of father of English romanticism. This is the story of William Wordsworth, one of the greatest poets in history. Born on April 7, 1770, William Wordsworth emerged as a gifted poet. He was the second child among John Wordsworth and Anne Cookson's 5 children. Wordsworth's early years were a blend of affection and sorrow. After 1 year, William Wordsworth's sister, Dorothy Wordsworth, was born. They became lifelong companions. When they were both baptized together, their bond grew even stronger and would last throughout their lives. However, William had few chances to spend time with his father since he often went away on business trips. As a result, his mother took care of him at his grandparents' house in Penrith, which became a safe and peaceful place for him. Unfortunately, his relationships with his grandparents and uncle were often filled with disagreements and troubles. Despite the challenges he faced, Wordsworth developed a love for reading under the guidance of his father. He immersed himself in the works of Milton, Shakespeare, and Spenser, spending hours in his father's library. His education also included time at small schools in Cockermouth and Penrith, where he was taught by Anne Burkett, a teacher who instilled in her students a passion for both learning and local traditions. It was during his school years in Penrith that Wordsworth encountered the Hutchinsons, including Mary Hutchinson, who would later become his wife. These formative years shaped his love for nature and the countryside, themes that would feature prominently in his poetry. After the death of his mother in 1778, Wordsworth was sent to Hawkshead Grammar School in Lancashire, while Dorothy lived with relatives in Yorkshire. The siblings were separated for 9 years before they would reunite. In 1787, Wordsworth made his debut as a writer with the publication of a sonnet in the European magazine. The same year, he began his studies at St. John's College, Cambridge, where he continued to develop his poetic voice. Summers were spent back in Hawkshead, and holidays were filled with walking tours to places renowned for their natural beauty. In 1790, Wordsworth embarked on a walking tour of Europe, where he explored the majestic Alps and visited France, Switzerland, and Italy. These experiences would greatly influence his poetry and deepen his understanding of the world. It was during his travels in France in 1792 that Wordsworth fell in love with Annette Vallon, with whom he had a daughter named Caroline. Financial difficulties and political tensions forced him to return to England, leaving behind his beloved Annette and their child. The turmoil of the French Revolution and the subsequent war between Britain and France kept them apart for several years. It was not until 1802, after the Peace of Amiens, that Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy were able to visit Annette and Caroline in Calais. This visit served as a prelude to his forthcoming marriage to Mary Hutchinson. Wordsworth would continue to support Annette and Caroline throughout his life, even though their relationship had changed. In 1793, Wordsworth's poems were published in collections such as An Evening Walk and Descriptive Sketches. With a legacy from Raisley Calvert, he gained financial stability and was able to pursue his career as a poet. In 1795, Wordsworth met Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and their friendship became a significant influence on his poetic development. Together, they produced Lyrical Ballads in 1798, a groundbreaking work that marked the beginning of the English Romantic movement. The collection included Wordsworth's famous poem, Tintern Abbey, and Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Wordsworth's poetry was characterized by a deep connection to nature, the exploration of human emotions, and the use of everyday language. He believed that poetry should reflect the ordinary language used by people and capture the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. In the early 1800s, Wordsworth wrote his only play, The Borderers, and embarked on a journey to Germany with his sister and Coleridge. While Coleridge was intellectually stimulated by the trip, Wordsworth experienced homesickness and wrote many famous poems during his time there, including the Lucy poems. Upon returning to England, Wordsworth settled in the Lake District, where he would spend the rest of his life. He and his sister Dorothy lived in Dove Cottage, and their neighbor, Robert Southey, formed a group known as the Lake Poets. Wordsworth's poems during this period revolved around themes of death, endurance, separation, and grief. In 1802, Wordsworth married his childhood friend Mary Hutchinson, and they had 5 children together. However, tragedy struck their family when 3 of their children passed away at a young age. Wordsworth's poetic career continued to evolve, and he sought to create a long philosophical poem called The Recluse. Although he never completed the entire work, he wrote a prologue known as The Prelude, which is now considered one of his most significant poems. In his later years, Wordsworth received numerous honors and accolades. He became the Poet Laureate of Britain in 1843, succeeding Robert Southey. Despite his fame and success, he faced personal hardships, including the deaths of close friends and family members. William Wordsworth passed away on April 23, 1850, leaving behind a rich legacy of poetry that celebrated the beauty of nature, the depths of human emotion, and the power of the written word. His work continues to inspire and captivate readers to this day. William Wordsworth, the poet of humanity, will forever be remembered for his contribution to English literature and his enduring love for the Lake District, which served as the backdrop to his extraordinary life and poetry.